The views expressed by the host of this program still documented to be almost always right 99.7% of the time. I am your harmless, lovable, little fuzzball host, Rush Limbaugh, meeting and surpassing all audience expectations every day. Here's the phone number. We're going to get your phone calls in this hour, I promise. 800-282-2882. Email address, lrushbaugh@eibnet.com. I'm going to assume that most of you were listening in the last half hour. I imagine some of you are going, what? Obama and Hillary and Michelle, what? You have to understand, I don't know that. I don't mean to say that. That's. Let me further explain about this. This is all the takeoff on this hashtag business. The people that are writing about this are upset that the hashtag is sufficing for foreign policy. I mean, even The Economist magazine is raising questions, and they're famously leftist UK, European magazine. What would the U.S. fight for? What would the U.S. defend is a question that they're asking. And here in the Wall Street Journal, Elliot Cohen, with an op-ed piece, a selfie-taking, hashtagging teenage administration. The Obama crowd too often responds to critics and to world affairs like self-absorbed adolescents. They act like teenagers. But the problem is that it infects both sides of the aisle. And let me just give you a little bit of what Cohen has written here. As American foreign policy continues its long string of failures, not a series of singles and doubles, as Obama asserted in a recent news conference, but rather season on season of fouls and strikes, the question becomes why. And by the way, speaking of that, when is the last time that you ever heard an American president ask for accolades? Yeah, we're hitting a lot of singles here in foreign policy, maybe a double here and there. I mean, the expectations are so low. The sights are so low. Our ambition, non-existent. And then Cohen writes, why does The Economist magazine put a tethered eagle on its cover with the plaintive question, what would America fight for? Why do Washington Post columnists sympathetic to the regime write pieces like one last week headlined, Obama tends to create his own foreign policy headaches? And let's go to the New York Times. If what Daniel Greenfield has written today at Front Page Magazine kind of surprises you, Greenfield points out in his piece that the media has taken the same position as Obama has on this. This Boko Haram group has been around for years. And for years there have been requests to put them on our official terror designation list. And the regime refused to do so. Hillary wouldn't do it. John Kerry won't do it. But Israel is. Israel is on the way to becoming an apartheid state, John Kerry says in private. And when it leaks out, he tries to walk it back. The New York Times ran an op-ed 2 years ago with the title, In Nigeria, Boko Haram is not the problem. 2 years ago. And Greenfield, Front Page Magazine notes, the op-ed contended that Boko Haram didn't exist, that it was a peaceful splinter group, that the Nigerian army was worse than Boko Haram. And the army, or the editorial, warned the U.S. not to give the impression that it supports Nigeria's Christian president or it would infuriate Muslims, and suggested that Christians might really be behind the Muslim terror attacks. Well, that's the New York Times, if all you know is that the Nigerian government is Christian, and that the regime blames them for the existence of Boko Haram because this Christian government does not appease the Islamists in the country, that Boko Haram came into existence as a militant group, as a terror group, because of a Christian government in Nigeria, then you know and have some context in understanding what Daniel Greenfield is saying here, which again is that the hashtag politics isn't aimed at the terrorists. It's aimed at helping them. The regime, Hillary, Michelle Obama, sympathize with Boko Haram. They're blaming the Christian Nigerian government for creating Boko Haram. And they want to get rid of the Nigerian government, because if you do that, if you appease the terror group by getting rid of the group you think is responsible for their existence, then you've made peace with them, you've made friends with them, and they'll leave us alone, or whatever convoluted thinking. I mean, I'm sorry, my ability to comprehend left liberalism only goes so far. But you've got the New York Times saying the same thing the regime did, and furthermore, there's another thing to bear in mind. MoveOn.org had a petition on its site that it's now trying to distance itself from. MoveOn.org, which is a Hillary group, it's a big leftist group, opposing the U.S. designation of Boko Haram as a terror organization. Same position as Hillary's State Department. And the reason is that these leftists at MoveOn were concerned that a terrorist designation would encourage the Nigerian government to take repressive action, i.e., use the designation that they're a terrorist organization as a pretext for cracking down on all Muslims, not just Boko Haram. And that MoveOn.org didn't want, which means that Hillary didn't want it because they're just following her, which means that Obama didn't want it. And everybody, if you just stop and be honest with yourself, you have to admit that this administration has gone out of its way to appease militant Islam every which way it can. I know you're, well, what about bin Laden? What had to be dragged kicking and screaming into getting bin Laden, if I recall right. There were many opportunities beforehand, but that was a pre-election domestic political move, as much with everything with Obama is. The only point being made here by the Wall Street Journal and the guy at Front Page Magazine, Greenfield, is that the real enemy, as far and this is not public, nobody knows. The people on Twitter that are all behind the hashtag have no clue what's going on here. They think they're really getting behind the kidnapped girls and that they're really helping and that they're really showing the world that they care and they're really causing worldwide action to take place. And they're being encouraged to think that. They're being encouraged to think that simply caring can cause positive action. That's another misdirection that I think people's minds are being polluted with. That simply sitting there getting by the hashtag can cause a problem like this to be solved. And that's going to be the end of the day. You wait. When this eventually is dealt with, and it's going to be. Because we do have some drones, we do have some aircraft trying to find the girls. They're going to get found at some point. You know this is going to end up at some point. And that hashtag is going to be given credit. And the end result is going to be that all these people that got behind the hashtag who did nothing but retweet it are going to think that solved the problem. And who does that serve? Again, it's let's just live in a false, pretend world. This is a world, folks, that has always been governed by the aggressive use of force. It is, doctors. Of course it is. Some kind of force. Let's ask this. Let's say that somehow by hook or by crook, that we are able to get the Nigerian government to resign or take them out or whatever. Would Boko Haram give up the girls? Well, we don't know. We don't know, but if that happened, that would be action. That would be the use of force. I mean, they're not going to leave on their own. The girls are not going to be given up. Boko Haram is just not, okay, we were just kidding. Here they are. Ain't going to happen. We're already using force. We're flying warplanes over Nigeria and other search aircraft trying to find them. The use of force is underway. The hashtag is I don't know. As the mayor of Realville, it's just frustrating, folks. But the bottom line here, you have a Christian government that Obama and Hillary blame for the existence of Boko Haram. the Christian government harassed Muslims. This is the theory. The Christian government of Nigeria made it uncomfortable and therefore they could not designate Boko Haram as a terror group because that would be siding with the Christian government in Nigeria. And there is no way that was going to happen. This regime is not going to side with the Christian government in Nigeria, with Boko Haram on the other side, when this regime blames the Christian government for the existence of Boko Haram. So with that as the context, it's easier to understand that Obama and Hillary have resisted doing anything about Boko Haram because they believed that its root cause was the oppression of Muslims by the Nigerian government. Don't forget, go back to 9/11. Why are there terrorists? Because of the United States. Because of our policies in the Middle East, because of our support for Israel, and also because of poverty, and because of economic circumstances of no hope. Where else are young men in the Middle East going to go? All of this bohunk. The ignoring of reality, once again, that militant Islam is an ideology, disguised as a religion components. But militant Islam is an ideology. This regime is not going to look at it that way, shape, or form. They're going to blame. Remember, they never let go of their political agenda. The United States, the State Department, after 9/11, within 2 months, that little forum, what did we do to make them mad? Why do they hate us? This is the Blame America crowd first crowd, and nothing has changed here. So this hashtag campaign, which actually started in Nigeria, just came along at a perfect time. I mean, it just fills the bill for the way the regime wants to handle and hide behind it. Anyway, got to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to get to your phone calls. People have been waiting patiently. We'll do that. Be back before you know it.
I'm meteorologist Kirsty Zontini on Dayton's official station for severe weather, News 95.7 WHIO.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not through. Mrs. Clinton. Hillary Clinton has been praised for eventually tweeting this condemnation of Boko Haram's kidnappings. Now, see, this is another measure of the phoniness. The hashtag starts in Nigeria. Mrs. Clinton, for 2 or 3 years, asked to declare them officially, State Department, a terror group. No way. Nope, not going to do it. And again, the reason is that they don't think Boko Haram is a terror group because the Nigerian government is responsible for making them one. The trouble in Nigeria is not Boko Haram, it's the Christian government. That's Mrs. Clinton's view. That's Obama's view. But eventually she got on board with the hashtag and all this inertia here behind it. She eventually got on board, and when she did, as is the case with all leftists, whenever they arrive, they are praised for getting on board, and she did. She tweeted a condemnation of the Boko Haram kidnappings. But it's interesting, she hasn't had anything to say about, did you know that one of her biggest contributors over the years has been none other than the Sultan of Brunei? I'm not kidding. I wouldn't make it up. You don't have to make it up with these people. Of course she's not going to give it. She's not even going to say. She's going to hope nobody talks about it. She hasn't had a thing to say about the Sultan of Brunei's plans to stone gay men to death, and that's not too surprising. Bill Clinton and Chelsea Clinton visited Brunei last year. They have accepted money from the Sultan. The Clinton Foundation, the library massage parlor, and what have you, the Clintons have taken money from them. The Beverly Hills Hotel in L.A. being boycotted by Hollywood over its ownership by the Sultan of Brunei. And they hired a Clinton aide. The Beverly Hills Hotel hired a Clinton aide as a crisis manager. The Clinton Foundation, get this now, the Clinton Foundation, which has played a key role in helping position Hillary for the 2016 presidential race, has received between $1 and $5 million from Brunei, which means from the Sultan or his idiotic brother Jeffrey, one of the two. Now, is anybody in Hollywood demanding Hillary give the money back? Is anybody in Hollywood demanding that Hillary explain herself? Does anybody know, how can you take money? It's the Sharia law in Brunei is stoning to death gay people and people that commit adultery. Your husband would be dead in Brunei if I found it. And you went over there and visited anyway. What? Massive left-wing hypocrisy on the march. Not a word about it. Just a little interesting tidbit. I wanted to toss it in. Here is Lee, South New Jersey, as we head to the phones. I'm glad you waited. Welcome to the program. Hi.
Hello, Rush. I've been with you since 1990.
Well, that's. I have to take that up with Snerdley. I didn't know we had anybody on hold for that.
Well, yes. I was. My subject is we were talking an half hour ago about these people are raising all this heck about global warming and the pollution that we are creating to create it. It seems like no one wants to bridge the subject on their cities that they look up to or the systems they look up to, the socialist cities of Mexico City and all the cities in China that has got a pollution cloud hanging in it that you can't see 2 city blocks.
Okay, so your question is, why aren't these people scared to death of what's happening in Antarctica, going to the Chi-Coms and demanding they stop polluting? Or why are they going down to Mexico and demanding they stop polluting? That's your point? That's your question?
Yes.
What do you think the answer is?
Well, when we took over, when the wall went down, they found lakes of chemical waste that was eat your hand off if you stuck into it. Nobody said anything about that either.
Yeah, but why?
Well, that's the reason why I'm calling. I got yelling at the radio trying to say, why isn't something being done here or said here? Of course, I can think of all kinds of socialist, leftist excuses. And
because
if they got anything to say, because
you've got to look at the way they've been taught, the way they've been educated, and they have been taught that capitalism is the great polluter. They've been taught that capitalism is the great destroyer. They've been taught that capitalism is the great fraud. Capitalism is the source of the greatest inequality and inequity. Socialism, communism, those are laudable efforts to get it right. Those are really cool efforts and ideas to try to make everybody equal and everybody experience fairness and for no discrimination and so forth. That's what they've been taught. They've been taught that the only reason socialism has failed is because the wrong people have been trying it since the beginning of time. And they've also been told that it's failed because there hasn't been enough money thrown at it. So China, not the problem. Chi-Coms actually, on occasion, get some credit. The United States is considered to be the focus of evil in the modern world. It's frustrating. This is the fruits of our education. Not just the United States, but capitalism. Capitalism is comprised of what? These evil corporations. Evil CEOs. And what are they doing? Why, they're polluting. They're drilling for oil. They're fracking. They're making killer drugs. Why, these CEOs are killing their customers. CEOs in the pursuit of profit. It all falls back to intentions, folks. It all falls back to motive. Well, socialism is trying to help people. It's trying to make everybody equal. It's trying to make sure that there's equality. And if there's pollution, it's okay because they're trying. That's the absolution. That's how you escape being blamed. It's why Obama's never going to be held accountable for anything that he's not. Well, he didn't want health care to fall apart. He wanted everybody to have free health care. It just didn't work out. But they to us, they attach ill motive, rotten intent. Well, look at David Koch. David Koch donates $100 million to the hospital in New York, and the beneficiaries show up and protest it. You know what they say? He doesn't really mean it. He doesn't really mean it. He's really just a
hate-filled bigot, and he knows it, and he's trying to make sure nobody else sees who he really is. So he gives $100 million. He doesn't really mean it, and so it doesn't count. Obama or Gore can give $235 a year on their tax return to charity. And they got the biggest hearts, and they got the biggest intentions. They just don't really love people. They really want to help. And that's how they look at Warren Buffett. You see the news? Warren Buffett, over the years, it's just been learned, has donated, let me get this number right. Hang on. This was $1.2 billion to the pro-choice movement. Warren Buffett, $1.2 billion. It is the second, depending on the month, the first or second richest man in America who is never asked, never blamed, never lumped in with the evil rich, never called any names. Why? Because he does two things. He's constantly calling for tax increases on the rich, thereby inoculating himself. And now we learn that he's given $1.2 billion over the year to people like Planned Parenthood and other pro-choice organizations. I'm telling you, that is one of the best ways to inoculate yourself. You want to buy an insurance policy against ever being ripped in the media? Do that. $1.2 billion to the abortion industry. Anyway, Brenda, here is it from Yakima, Washington. You're next. It's great to have you. Hi.
Thank you, Rush. I'm honored to speak with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Well, what I wanted to talk about today was Donald Sterling, and I have not heard anybody say this, but what I heard him saying was that she could sleep with anybody that she wanted to, but he didn't want them brought to his game. So obviously, to me, she sleeps with a lot of black guys, and she was making this more about race than he was. And he just didn't want to be humiliated. He's an 80-year-old man that comes from an era where they didn't mix races. And so, well, I don't quite feel sorry for him. I do think that the media has just jumped on a private conversation that he is not adept at.
You think that we need to step back a little and try to understand why there might be, excuse me, explainable reasons for what Sterling has done and said?
Well, I'd kind of like to know if he got the Ferrari back from her, but
No.
It's two sleazeballs running into each other, and I don't feel sorry for him, but I don't think that
he never saw that Ferrari, and he is not going to see it. And the same thing with the house he bought her. He never saw that, and he's not going to ever see that.
Well, I don't think it's right that he's getting jumped on for being racist when black people are the most racist people of anybody. They're very intolerant of. I'm part Indian, and it's the same with any minority group. They're more racist against white people than anybody.
But you see, Brenda, at this juncture in American history, that's not only permitted; it's almost called for. It's called reciprocity, getting even. It's the whole point of affirmative action, never-ending affirmative action. But okay, her point is she thinks that they're piling on Sterling. He comes from a different generation. He's lost. He doesn't understand why he's in trouble here. He thinks of himself as a good person, and. Let's go to the audio soundbites. I mentioned at the top of the program. You've heard the phrase, he stepped in it. CNN, every network has been trying to get Sterling on. I don't know what CNN did to get him. Maybe the fact that they don't have any viewers appealed to Sterling, and if he did step in it, nobody would hear it. But he miscalculated because everybody was going to replay whatever happened on CNN. Did you really... They've just had their lowest primetime ratings in something like 100 years. 250,000 people total, not the demo, 250,000 people, primetime CNN. They still have the lights. It proves that ratings don't matter anymore in media. It proves that the ratings don't matter. The cause supersedes ratings. 250,000 people in the audience. We have that in New York. We have that in Manhattan, in New York. Anyway, he chose CNN. Anderson Cooper 210. And they may as well have placed in front of the chair that he was going to sit in 2 buckets of excrement and said, put your feet in there. Just go ahead and step in it now because we think we're going to get you to do it anyway. And he did. I mean, really stepped in it. I have a summary of some things that he said. But let's just go to the audio soundbites. So just 2 of them here. Let's focus on he really launched on magic. And if you go back to the day this all popped and became big-time news, on this program, I offered the opinion that there was some bad blood between this guy and Magic over something. I thought it might be that Magic was trying to maneuver and get his team away from him. I thought it might be this V. Stiviano, the delectable babe in this whole sordid affair, as apparently, depending on the day of the week, she's with some athlete from the Lakers, some athlete from the Dodgers, then she's with Magic, and that picture of her with Magic is what set him off. It did. And that's when he said, look, I know I can't stop you from hanging around, but don't bring him to the games. I don't, and that was the end of it. So all the networks have been trying to get him. CNN did, and here's the Magic Johnson, the Magic soundbites. Anderson Cooper said, Magic Johnson, he made a public comment. Do you have anything you'd like to say to Magic Johnson?
I'm hurt that he called me up and he said, don't do anything. Wait until you hear from me. Then somebody called me later and said he doesn't want to be involved. And then he released the tape that I said to him, that I talked to him in confidence. Here is a man who's, I don't know if I say this, he acts so holy. I mean, he made love to every girl in every city in America, and he had AIDS. And when he had those AIDS, I went to my synagogue and I prayed for him. I hoped he could live and be well.
When he had those AIDS. When he had those AIDS, Sterling went to the synagogue and prayed. Anderson Cooper, he called you when the tape came out and he told you not to say anything. Why did he say don't say anything? What's that about?
He just said, wait, be patient, I'll help you, we'll work it out. I think he wanted me to just do nothing so he could buy the team. He thought maybe the whole thing would be resolved in 2 weeks. What has he done? Can you tell me? Big Magic Johnson, what has he done? He's got AIDS. Did he do any business? Did he help anybody in South L.A.?
Well, I think he has HIV. He doesn't actually have full-blown AIDS. But
well, what kind of a guy goes to every city, has sex with every girl, then he catches HIV? And is that someone we want to respect and tell our kids about? I think he should be ashamed of himself. I think he should go into the background. But what does he do for the black people? Doesn't do anything.
This is why I say CNN put 2 buckets of excrement in front of him and said, here, have a seat. And he just stepped right in it. And this was the worst of it, talking about Magic. But during the interview, he was asked about the girl, V. Stiviano. And he said, oh, Anderson, I guess I thought I understood women, but I guess I don't. She's so good at getting what she wants without even asking her for. Let me give you an example, Anderson. We were walking past Neiman Marcus one day. What are you doing walking past Neiman Marcus? Anyway, we were walking past Neiman Marcus, and she stopped at one of those big windows they have where they have clothes on display, and she looked at me, and she said, "Do you think that's pretty?" I mean, how could I not buy it for her? That's how manipulative she is. I'm watching this in utter stunned disbelief. So when this thing aired last night, the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, let me see if we've got this. Hang on just a second. We got Adam Silver, the commissioner, who banned the guy and sent him to Timbuktu, apologized for the league to Magic Johnson and said this is unacceptable, irresponsible. It's just mind. Well, he's early 80s, and the story is early onset dementia, is what his wife says. She was on a different network. She was on with Barbara Walters, I think. Well, the wife wants the team. The wife wants the team. And about that, Friday, grab soundbite 23. I said, Rick Barry, after all of this, Rick Barry was on CNN this morning from Denver. And he was asked, it's even more important than ever the NBA divest itself of Sterling quickly, right? I mean, this is just, as soon as the playoffs are over, we got to get rid of this guy, right, Rick?
As soon as possible. It couldn't be done quick enough as far as I'm concerned. The sad part about it is that he also, now you have his wife and her attorney talking about the fact that they want to try to fight this so that they can have ownership as far as she is concerned and possibly other members of her family. And I appealed to her. I said, please listen to what LeBron James said, that he and the rest of the NBA players do not want any member of the Sterling family involved with his team. So why would you fight for something that is never going to be a positive thing? Never. It can't possibly happen. They need to just go away. I mean, Donald Sterling will get a fortune when he sells this basketball team. Go get an island somewhere and isolate yourself and get away from everybody and do us all a favor.
I got to take a break. I'm way long. We'll be right back.
Rush Limbaugh, pointing the way on the EIB network.
This is my home.
News 95.7 and AM 1290 WHIO.
My entire life was on that computer, and it's gone. These words are anyone's worst nightmare. Doesn't matter whether your computer was stolen, damaged, or destroyed. Losing your computer means losing the memories and work you need and treasure. But your files and pictures and data don't have to be lost when your computer is. You can back it up, protect it all on a service called iDrive. iDrive stores copies of all of your pictures, all of your files, everything valuable in your computer away from your computer. Millions of people now use iDrive to safely store everything they do online. You download iDrive in seconds and then just relax, knowing that your computer is safely backed up. You are protected by iDrive. Go to iDrive.com like we have and enjoy peace of mind, folks. iDrive.com. Get 50% off for a year when you use my name. iDrive.com. My name's Rush.